In this video I'm going to review and test benchmark a Corsair Force MP600 1TB NVMe 2 drive. That's PCIe Gen 4, not 3, 4. And for that the current price is £155. Now, this system has two Corsair MP600 drives, C and D. And as you can see, they're installed without the Corsair chunky heatsink, but the heatsink in this Asus Tough motherboard should be adequate for these drives. So let's test them with Crystal Disk Mark and my favorite tester of all, Atto Disk Benchmark. So first we'll do Corsair, and we're also gonna look at the specs on the drive. There we are, C and D. They've been installing the system for about 12 days, stuff like that, and as you can see they do run hotter than the SATA drives. 46 and 43 against 37 and 38, 41. So NVMe 2 drives do run hotter, obviously because they're stuck on the motherboard. If they're away from the motherboard with the heatsink, then they would run cooler. So let's compare them against a SATA SSD, which is the Samsung Evo 860 1TB, and we'll see how they perform against that in terms of read and write. Will the performance come anywhere near the benchmark, the sales pitch, which is, these are the sales pitch, nearly 5,000 read and 4,250 write. That's obviously on the first two settings and not on these two, which are less relevant than random read write operations. So we're going to compare it against the SATA SSD to see how it performs in real world and whether it's worth paying £155, probably a 30% premium over a PCIe 3 drive, and you're probably paying 50%, well, about maybe £50 more than the Samsung Evo costs and a SATA drive. I think Evo's around £100 now. Anyway, prices have come down a little bit, so I paid £170 for these drives, £170 each from the same supplier. It's now £155. So from a couple of months ago, the prices have come down a little bit. Anyway, now let's benchmark them and see if they're worth getting. Crystal Disk Info as well, and also have the temperatures running. You can monitor the temp, see how hot it gets. Like I say, I've not installed a Corsair heatsink, but they should be on alright, and they do run hotter. As long as it stays roughly under load, below 55 degrees, yeah, it should be okay for long-term use. Obviously long-term you're looking at the idle temperature, where here it's 46, which is still fine. Below 50 idle is fine. Under load below 55 is fine. When it starts going above 55, you want to think about extra cooling. I don't think the chunky heatsink will make much difference. For instance, if it went over 60 degrees, you'd need something like a fan blowing on it to cool it down. Okay, let's start the ball rolling with Crystal Disk Mark. See if it come anywhere near its sales pitch of 5,000 read and 4,250 write. I'll be surprised. Well, it surprised me. That is 5,000. Obviously this is just a sales gimmick, you know. These numbers are sales gimmick, and so is these. Well, come on, these two are what count, and what I'll be comparing against the Samsung Evo. Okay, what's the temperature doing? Ooh, it's gone up to 50 degrees. 50, shot to 50 degrees. Still below like the 55 that I would not want to see it go above 55 for any sustained period. Okay, so that's the test complete, and then you can see the temperature peaked at 55 degrees. Ooh, getting a bit toasty. Anything under 56 degrees is fine under load. Like I say, ambient is around 46, 47, which is dropping down too. So how's it compared against the Samsung Evo? Let's see now. Yeah, well, obviously these are a sales gimmick, but at least they match the sales pitch, so that's a positive. The read-write speeds match the sales pitch for Maxley. Obviously they're not of much use unless you're moving very large files around between NVMe to PCIe4, then that makes a difference. Otherwise it doesn't make any difference. These numbers are meaningless. What about the random read and write? Well, it is 60% faster than the Samsung Evo 860. That is a significant speed jump. Yeah, and if you're getting a high-end system, then yeah, it's worth paying say £60 more for an NVMe 2 PCIe4 than a SATA SSD. Obviously whether you buy the drive depends on your system. If it's a £1,000 system, there's no point paying £155 for one of these. Just get a Samsung SATA SSD. So about writes, well, it's a very mixed picture, isn't it? So it's high on this, about 50%, only 7% on this. So it just goes to confirm that this drive is good as a system drive for reading from and writing to system files. It's not good for using to transfer between drives and other peripherals. It's good as a system drive. Now if you've got two NVMe 2s like I have, then it can be useful to transfer between them. Otherwise, your best thing about this drive is that as a system drive based on Crystal Disk Mark. So now let's run the other test. My favorite, Atto Disk Benchmark. Set it to 1 GB file size. Get this test running and see how it compares to the SATA drive. Obviously I don't think there's going to be much difference in the small file size. The difference will be in the large files. Now look, this is comparable to a SATA drive, SATA SSD. You're not seeing anything. 86 megabits per second, that's nothing. You know, SATA can go up to 550, and for PCIe4 that can go up to 3250. So we're not seeing on small file sizes, we're not seeing any difference there. Temperature has not gone up. Why isn't the temperature going up? For some reason the temperatures. Oh yeah, because when it gets to the large files it might. Oh look, now we're starting to go over. So now we passed the threshold for SATA drives. SATA SSDs at 8 kilobytes. 16 kilobytes, 1.5. Now we're approaching PCIe4 and 64 kilobytes. We're going above PCIe3. I mean, we're approaching PCIe3 now. We're going above PCIe3. So now you're seeing the benefits of PCIe4 on 128 kilobytes, 164 kilobyte file sizes and above. But obviously to benefit from that speed you need to have two to move data between them. But in terms of system read and write, look, 5 gigabits per second, 4 gigabits per second write, 5 gigabits per second read. That is fast. So basically, oh, the temperature's gone up a little bit, but not much. So basically what I'm seeing here is that these MP600 drives are good as system drives where you store your programs, and as a boot drive, system drive, and if you want to use them for data, then yeah, you can put a second one in. It's better to get two 1 terabyte NVMe 2s than a single NVMe 2, because then you can use one for your system and one for your data, and the speed between them will be lightning fast. But you can share the load, like move the swap file to the other drive. So overall, is it worth getting an MP600? In my opinion, that depends on your system. If it's a £1,000 system, then no, it's not worth it. Just get a Samsung Evo 860 for, was it £90, near half the price. If you got a £2,000 system, then it's a bit mixed. You'd probably be more cost effective to get NVMe to PCIe3 drive. You could save maybe £30. It might cost you 130, 125, 130. So it might save you some money, but it's up to you. But if you say your system's over £2,500, $2,500, then just get it. It's lightning fast, and it performs as spec, and it doesn't run hot. And I'm not even using their chunky heatsink. Obviously, your temperature in your system might be different. So if you do get it, follow the link in the description where I'll put in. If you do get one, then check the temperature if it runs hot. Right, this is hardware info, this temperature is measured on. And then put the heatsink on it, but I don't think it's going to make much difference. It'll be a couple of degrees at most. Like if this drive was running very hot, say over, say under load 58, something like that, and definitely if it's approaching 60 degrees, I would look at putting some kind of fan blowing onto it, blow it on top of it, to cool it down. The most important temperature is not really the spikes, is what they are when idle, and below, as long as it's below 50 idling, regular use. This is 48 to 46, and it should be fine with the motherboard fan. And I think the Corsair's chunky fan makes about 1 to 2 degree difference. I can't see it making more difference than that. Swings and roundabouts. You see, it depends what it's cooling, because remember the heat spreader is spreading the heat across the whole, the NAND flashes and whatever, and controller. So you want to know where it's measuring the temperature. It might be transferring the heat to the NAND memory, which is not a good idea. You want the NAND to be cool, so it depends where it's measuring the heat as well. That's one of the reasons I didn't put this one. I used the motherboard one. Anyway, the drive has passed its test. It performs lightning fast, better than I was expecting. Before I did this test, I was expecting around 4 on read and maybe 3 on the write, but these numbers aren't really important. It's these that matter, and it is a fast read drive. Write drive is a bit more mixed, but if you're going to use it for a system drive, you're using it for read. Then if you're going to use it for data drive, I'd suggest you have two of them, a pair. This is why I bought 2, system and data drive, so because then they complement each other, moving files around, one's not slowing the other one down. Obviously I've got SATA drives in here as well, but they're not actually affecting the system or any of the main programs. They're just for storage of, say, video clips, video, movies and stuff like that. They're not actively under load where the C and D are. So that was my review of The Corsair MP600 gets a big thumbs up for me. What do I rate it out of 10? I rate it 9 out of 10. Yeah, it's not anything that stands out negative. Everything's positive. Maybe this one number should be a little higher. 7%. It's a bit disappointing, which is why I give it 9. Although for what my purposes, it's not going to make any difference. It is a fast drive. It is an excellent system drive, and it's a okay data drive. It's not made for that. It's made mainly for fast loading times for programs, and the system is good for that. Maybe overkill for it as a data drive. Obviously it's only 1 terabyte, but you could use it as a work drive. 1 terabyte data work drive, and use the SATA drives as storage. In fact, you could use, SATA SSDs now. They come down in price. You don't have to use SATA mechanical drives anymore. So do check out the link in the description if you want one. The link in the description takes you to the page where you can buy one. Install it in your computer. It's pretty straightforward to install. I'm not going to show you how to install it because it's pretty straightforward. Just to take the cap off the motherboard heatsink, screw it in, 1 screw on the end, slot it in, screw it in, put the cap on, screw it out. There's millions of videos showing you how to do that.